Hey guys, welcome back to the Smell the Leather Cricket podcast where we discuss all things cricket from an average Joe's perspective. And oh boy, it's been a while since I've said that. I think our last episode was the India versus England series preview. And since then, I think let's just leave it at England played some good cricket, but India did them one better on most occasions, Gaurav. But I'm not trying to avoid talking about England's losses. It's just that the best T20 league in the world is back in action, and we have to quickly put our IPL hats on and really get the ball rolling. One of the main reasons we haven't done our IPL preview was because there are literally a gazillion out there long before the tournament started, and instead, what we're going to be doing is a weekly show where we review the week in the IPL gone by. So that's going to be our format going forward, and the episode should drop every Saturday, barring this one. And on that note, I'm your host Adit. Joining me is my co-host Gaurav, and without any further ado, this is our review of the first week in the IPL 2021. Gaurav, this edition of the IPL, there's a little bit of a twist where we have neutral venues, no home advantages. You have teams like the Mumbai Indians playing a chunk of their games at the Chepauk, conditions that probably do not suit them that much. Even more so for the Chennai Super Kings, for example, who play a chunk of their games at the Wankhede. So this brings an interesting dynamic, and I think that has made for some interesting cricket in this first week. We've seen 9 matches so far, and we're recording this podcast on the Sunday, the first day of a double header in this edition of the IPL. So it's going to be pretty exciting. We've seen all the teams play a couple of games. Mumbai and SRH have played three each. And I think I've rambled on enough, Gaurav. I think the people that listen to our show, at least a very few, they probably want to hear your thoughts on the week in this IPL, and what do you make of the neutral venues and all of that stuff?
Yeah, it has been very interesting. As you said, the neutral venues, I think it has played a great role, especially for teams like Chennai and Hyderabad who have been lagging behind in this first week. Apart from those two teams, I think the other six teams have been very competitive. You talk about Rajasthan with two of their key players missing, Archer before the tournament, and now Stokes not being available, but still they have managed to put up decent performances in both the games. So yeah, those neutral venues really challenges you as a team, but then it makes even more exciting look forward to, because now teams have got to really adjust. While the auctions were on, they choose players based on eight home games that they would be playing. Yeah, as Mumbai, as you mentioned, that Chepauk is probably the place where they wouldn't want to play, but they managed to win two out of the three. So yeah, look, it's been very competitive, and going forward, I think teams like SRH and CSK and probably Punjab as well, they've got to really pick up the games. Teams like Delhi Capitals and Mumbai and RCB are kind of looking to take the prime positions right now. RCB fans would be delighted because all those fears that they had over the years of not winning the close encounters, they won two out of the two, and yeah, it's going to be really exciting.
You mentioned the key word there being adjust, and teams have to adjust. Now, I want to come to the Chepauk and the role it's playing in how the teams have to redefine the way they're playing their cricket. Like, teams really have to go hard up front because it becomes very difficult to score in that back end 16 to 20 over mark, especially when you have bowlers like Bumrah who can basically go for nothing in those 4 overs. So, from what you've seen so far, do you like the template that the Chepauk brings for teams to play in T20 cricket?
Yeah, look, I as a viewer, wouldn't want to watch games played at Chepauk, because it's been very difficult for the batsman. Let's be honest about that. But the batsman approach at the same time has not been what it should be, because those middle overs, they've not even got at six per over, which somehow is very uh, difficult to digest, because if you look at it, yeah, sure, the ball gets older, but one side of the Chennai ground is very it's very long, the boundary of that side, meaning you have bigger gaps as well, so you can just push to those gaps and go for the singles and doubles, which has really not happened. That players, the batsmen are playing too many dot balls is what I feel, and the boundaries obviously are the difficult options, especially going for sixes. And yeah, if they can just go at even 7.5 runs and over, so it makes up for the 160 165 target, which has been proved to be the winning score. Yeah, look, on the other side, Mumbai pitches, it has given us entirely different perspective apart from the last game of Punjab and Chennai. Uh, and it has looked green as well. The pitch surprisingly has been really green. Even from Delhi's side, Rabada and Avesh Khan were getting seam movement of the track. So I actually like this neutral venue concept a lot, because initially it was the template was fixed that okay, Rajasthan would win 6 out of the 8 games played in Jaipur, and Mumbai would do that in 7 of the 8 games played in Wankhede. But since now that's not the case, it has really spiced things up.
Yeah, you mentioned the sixes, and before yesterday's game at Chennai between Mumbai and SRH, there was just one six hit in that 16 to 20 over bracket. So, and if you contrast that to Mumbai, as you were saying, it was just raining sixes apart from the last couple of games, DC versus Rajasthan and also CSK versus Punjab Kings. And before we move into reviewing the teams and how they have performed, I want your take on who you think are a couple of players that have really impressed you or surprised you, which I'm sure there will be for a lot of people, given the performances that we've seen in this week.
Yeah, I wouldn't say I was surprised by the performance of these players, but if you look at it, it's been the Indian players who have really dominated the first week. Samson and Rahul Chahar, KL Rahul with that 91, Harshal Patel. The Indian team would be delighted for sure with how the players have come up. Bhuvaneshwar Kumar, Bumrah is the bank, but then last year we saw he didn't have a very good first half of the IPL, but he has started really well this time. So yeah, Sanju Samson inning was the highlight for me for this week. Just the striking ability. Every time you see the guy, you feel like probably should be the first name on the Indian limited overs list, but hopefully he continues his form for a longer period this time. What about you? Apart from these, did you find any emerging players?
Yeah, I think Ashdeep Singh is one. He performed well in the last season as well, and the way he defended that over against Samson, he stuck to his plans. He had a 7-2 offside field, and to stick to your plans in that last over, it can be really difficult, which he pulled off. I also like Chetan Sakaria from Rajasthan. Seems like he has a little bit of energy about him, and he has nice wrist position with his bowling. And also, probably he hasn't performed, like he hasn't had an highlight performance as yet, but uh, Parag from Rajasthan, I think he has some energy about him. He contributes with the bat, ball, and he's an electric fielder as well. I think he can be a key for Rajasthan going forward. But now I think we should get into reviewing the teams, and let's start off with the season opener. So we'll start off with Mumbai first, and they've played 3 games at the Chepauk now. Their first 3 games, they've won 2 out of the 3, as you've mentioned. They've played against the RCB, KKR, and SRH. Surprisingly, they lost to RCB in that opener. But their batting performance in these 3 games, the top order has done well, but that lower middle order, are you a little bit concerned about the performances there, or is it just because it's in Chennai that's why those wickets are falling in a heap, at least in the first couple of games for Mumbai Indians?
Yeah, I'm not concerned. I think it has been difficult to come in and go from the start, and the big hitters have found it difficult. What I would say though is they have not played their A game yet, and which is ominous signs for the other teams, and yet they've managed to win 2 out of the 3. Look, most of us would agree that on paper they are the best team, and they are in fact, apart from you said batting part, yeah, look, Hardik Pandya has been a worry because for some reason he can go right from the start, go for the boundaries, but hasn't been able to connect. I'm really pleased with Pollard's batting and how he approached the last night's game. But yeah, I think they managed to win the crunch situations. Even during batting, if you remember Surya Kumar's inning against KKR, so they lost early wickets, and but he went with the flow, and that innings in that Chennai wicket was a highlight for me. Ishan Kishan was not himself the game against SRH, but I'm not concerned at all, to be honest. The only thing that I would say is probably the fifth bowling option, because since Hardik Pandya is not bowling, and once they go to pitches where it's batsman friendly, so you wouldn't count Kunal Pandya to bowl out his 4 overs of quota, and then it becomes difficult because Pollard is effective in pitches like Chennai, and then they move on to Delhi. But they've got to do something about that fifth bowling option. It's working till now, but if Hardik Pandya doesn't bowl, that might be a concern. But other than that, it looks an all-round team.
Yeah, Pollard's six last night. Oh boy, that 105 meters six was huge. But just coming back to Surya Kumar Yadav, he just seems like he's playing on a different wicket compared to all the batsmen that we've seen so far, probably barring Bairstow in last night's innings where he just took on, he got a 40 out of 16 balls. But Surya Kumar Yadav is going to be a mainstay he has been a mainstay for them, and it just looks like this is going to be he's going to have a really, really good year this year.
Yes, I mean, he has become my favorite player since the last IPL. Just the ability to play spin. We did see how he played the faster bowlers. Pat Cummins, that six against Pat Cummins was great, but really like the way he plays spin. Not many players are able to rotate strike as regularly as he does. You see even the likes of Kohli and Rohit Sharma being stuck against the leg spinners of late, but not many spinners have been able to trouble him. I remember the last season he went after even Rashid Khan and guys like Sunil Narine, all of the spinners who were difficult to play against. But yeah, Surya Kumar Yadav, as you mentioned, if they're gonna win the tournament, he's got a big role to play in that.
Yeah, and you mentioned their fifth bowling option. They've tried a couple there, one in Marco Jansen in the first couple of games, and yesterday they went to Adam Milne from New Zealand. Maybe they could bring in an extra spinner at least for the games in Chennai, because if you remember in the second game against KKR, Rohit Sharma brought himself to bowl on for an over or so. So does that probably make a case for say a player like Jayant Yadav instead of Milne, who also went for runs, but he came back nicely, and you can probably use them in while going back to the Wankhede or in the other grounds.
Definitely, I think Jayant Yadav also gives that off spinning option. So they already have a left arm spin bowling option and the leggy. So this would give them an option, especially against the left-handers, and he can bat as well. So it kind of increases the depth in their batting. But traditionally, Mumbai likes to go in with two foreign pacers, and you mentioned Marco Jansen, and we all were really impressed with him in that first game. Even the second, he didn't bowl badly at all. But looking at the conditions, and that's the area where Mumbai are really flexible. They really adapt to the conditions, and as you said, I do think that they would give Jayant Yadav or probably a Piyush Chawla a go, because it still have 2 games to play in Chennai, and it has been turning for guys like Rahul Chahar, who doesn't normally spin the ball a lot. So yeah, it makes a good case for either of Chawla or Jayant Yadav.
Yeah, Chahar is an interesting one. He was they was just showing up a graphic yesterday where he was getting almost 8 degrees of turn at this tournament in Chennai, and he gets most of his wickets with the traditional leg spinner. Whereas if you associate that with a normal leg spinner, it's mostly the googly that gets them the wickets. So, how impressed are you with Chahar's performance so far?
Yeah, I'm very impressed. I think more than the technicalities of spin bowling, I like the attitude because it's always been the case with him. He does go for runs every now and then, but he still pushes the ball. If that delivery against Manish Pandey, Manish Pandey is a great striker down the ground against the leg spinners and the off spinners as well, but he still had the ability and the courage to put that ball up. And yeah, we saw the result, especially how he foxed Nitish Rana as well in that game against KKR. He was a game changer, and they really need him to come good because last year Mumbai was a team who were the most expensive in those middle overs. They didn't pick a lot of wickets, and it then really puts a lot of pressure on guys like Bolt and Bumrah. So his performance and his form is really important, and yeah, he's come good. Looks to be in good rhythm as well. But when you see Rahul Char, normally he can start with few short balls, half trackers right from the beginning of his spell, and he then it's difficult to finish the quota 4 overs. But right from the beginning, he's consciously made that effort to put that ball up as well, and it has helped him.
Yeah, the only team that he's gone for runs is against RCB. So let's talk about them next, because Mumbai lost to them in that nail-biting last over finish, and RCB have won both their games so far. First of all, the revelation for them has been Harshal Patel. Why do you think that is? He was at DC, and he got traded in, and he just seems to be a force to reckon with.
It's an interesting case. It's very much like Surya Kumar Yadav when he was playing for KKR and wasn't given the right role. And RCB traditionally have not been good with either in auctions or even transferring of players, but they have made a masterstroke, I'm sure, because whenever throughout the years Harshal Patel has played for various teams, he was always those middle over bowlers, 2 or 3 over bowlers. He wasn't used during the death for some reason, but he has got that Yorker, which is very important, and looks much fitter as well this time. Had a great domestic season as well. So yeah, I think it's more about the confidence and the good thing about Kohli is he really backs his players. It's also more about the pitches that he's been playing in. The Chennai pitch has helped him with his off cutters and the slow balls. I would like to see what he does when he goes to Mumbai and Calcutta especially. But they would be hoping that he comes good, because I still think RCB has problems in their death bowling. The bowling unit still doesn't look very convincing to me, but Harshal Patel has been the star for them.
Yeah, it's an interesting point you bring up about roles in T20 cricket, and I think it's very important to have defined roles for each player to get the maximum from them. And on that note, I want to ask you, what is Dan Christian's role in this team? Do you see him playing a part going forward as well? Because so far it feels like they can use someone else at that position who can be a lot more effective on these surfaces.
Definitely, to be honest, I don't see Christian playing any of the games, to be honest, because if you don't bowl him for more than 2 overs, and I really don't see him uh, giving you 30 of 15, 30 of 20 in those last overs, especially in the Chennai pitches. He's what, 36, 37 now, and you're using a foreign player. You left Moeen Ali, guys like Moeen Ali and Chris Morris for that. So yeah, we discussed how good they were with Harshal Patel's inclusion, and I think they made it up by giving up Chris Morris and Moeen Ali for Dan Christian. Yeah, I really don't see what his role is. In fact, he's been very scratchy as well while he's batted. Yeah, they've got to try. So I don't know who are the real options, because they've let go of two of very good T20 players, and we've seen both of them doing really well for their respective franchises. Their batting also, I think, from 5, 6, 7 onwards. If you see post De Villiers, it's
Washington Sundar,
Christian Sundar and Jamieson.
Jamieson.
Yeah, and it again, it's the same thing. They've definitely got in Maxwell, but there would be times Maxwell is not your bank for all the matches, and they've got to have someone post De Villiers who can win matches when you need 40 of 30. And I don't see Christian doing that. I don't see Sundar was effective in the test matches, but here he's looked out of sorts. So they've got some problems in there. They've started well, but tough challenges are ahead of them.
You were talking about options, and I just want to bring up Daniel Sam's name. He's out of quarantine now, and he's probably available for selection. Could he be looked at as an replacement for Christian, because he provides that left arm option? He has those slow balls. He played for DC last season. He did well in those last couple of games, and he can contribute with the bat as well. He's had a good BBL season behind him. Is he a possible option that can plug these gaps that you just mentioned?
100%. I would pick Daniel Sams over Christian any day. He that left-handed option, as you mentioned. There would be times where Siraj would go for runs in the death, and probably Harshal Patel will as well. So, if in a crunch situation, you got to have an extra option, because we have not seen Sundar bowling in the last 5 overs, or Chahal, and Chahal's form also has been a concern for them. So Daniel Sams for sure, yeah, he makes my team any day.
And you mentioned, so that given it's a Chepauk, I'm really surprised they haven't used him in the power play. He's usually a power play bowler for India. Are you surprised by that, not using Sundar? And Jamieson has been bowling. He's been a little bit expensive in that power play so far.
I'm not surprised, because it's RCB. So RCB does these weird things. For some reason they can't be consistent with their strategy. And why would you not bowl someone like Sundar, who has been bowling for the national team in those 6 overs and has been doing really well? Kylie Jamieson, for someone who's been to India first time, you would want to give him extra protection once the power play is over, and would make use of. He can actually make use of that pitch, because he's tall, and those slower balls would be very effective. But the 6 overs where batsmen are trying to go hard, yeah, Sundar, 2 overs of Sundar is definite for me, unless he goes for a lot of runs. Yeah.
And with that case of Jamieson, in the last game, he went for 26 of his 2 overs in the power play. But as soon as that power play got over, he was brought back in the middle overs, and he just seemed like a different bowler. He was a lot more effective with his height. He was getting that bounce and using the slow balls effectively as well. So, yeah, maybe RCB need to look at that. Jamieson was an expensive buy, and another one was Glenn Maxwell. So let's talk about him and how has he been for RCB so far.
Oh, terrific. I think he's had a role to play in both of the games that they've won. I would want him to bowl more often, because they've not utilized him. I think he's very cunning in that regard. He can squeeze out 2 or 3 overs, especially in Chennai. So, yeah, look, Maxwell, if he gets on a roll, De Villiers, Maxwell, and Kohli, that lineup is scary for even the best of bowlers, best of bowling units, because over the years they've tried out guys like McCullum and Finch and all the players who have performed well for the other teams, but somehow haven't performed for RCB. But it's the other way around this time. Maxwell has been in form, and he has been throughout the last years, even the ODI and the T20I leg against India in Australia, that he did really well. So and he's playing at a right position as well. Punjab, I thought they were using him at 5, 6, and which was not the right position. Maxwell, especially in the middle overs against spinners, He can be destructive against the best of spinners, and it also uh, gives an assurance between Kohli and De Villiers. De Villiers, we saw what he can do even if he has few balls. Although we all want to see more of De Villiers every day, but then strategy wise, I think Maxwell at number 4 is the right call.
Yeah, and they've made a change to their batting lineup this year with Kohli opening the batting along with Padikkal, and you have Shahbaz Ahmed at 3, Maxwell at 4, and ABD coming at 5. Are you okay with ABD coming in that low in the order? Would you like to see a swap between him and probably Shahbaz Ahmed, or are you fine with the lineup as it is?
Yeah, look, it's a tough one actually. I although I do want to see more of him at the top, but then the thing is, like I mentioned, the 5, 6, 7, or rather the 6, 7, it looks very weak to me. So you got to have someone who can finish games, and that's exactly what he did against the game against Mumbai. So I think it's more about the situation of the game. If it's a high scoring game, if they've got a good start, you might as well send AB at 3 and use Shahbaz Ahmed and guys like Sundar and Christian, or as you mentioned, Daniel Sams can be used as floaters. But uh, yeah, I think they would continue with this, and I'm actually happy with this because De Villiers, not many can handle pressure like De Villiers does.
That's true. And just coming back to RCB's bowling, Chahal, he had a few off games for India as well in that England series, and the first couple of games here. Are you concerned about him? Do you probably bring in Zampa and leave out Christian, play the two left, the two leggies in today's game, for example, where it's an afternoon game, there's no dew in Chennai?
Yeah. I think Zampa, for some reason, teams over the years they have not had a lot of confidence in Zampa, but his record is there for everyone to see. He's the real wicket taker, and he's been a regular in the national squad as well. So yeah, look, there might be opportunities where even you can rest someone like a Jamieson and bring in Zampa, because you have the Indian bowling options there for you, and if they can take wickets in the middle overs, then that worry of the dead overs is minimized, and he's a real asset on the field. The attitude that he brings in, and just gives more of competition to Chahal as well, because I think he needs that push. He seems relaxed for some reason, because Chahal, with every time you see Chahal over the years, he's always looking to go for wickets, but uh, has been on a downhill for some time now. So you need to give him that push by bringing in Zampa.
That's a very fair point you bring up there, Gaurav. And one more thing I wanted to touch upon was the role of left arm spinners in Chennai. So if you look at it, Krunal Pandya, Shahbaz Ahmed, these guys have been doing well in the death. And if you compare that to a team like SRH, who don't have a left arm spinning option, they have gone for the most runs in the that back end so far in Chennai. So do you think there's a correlation there between the two? And for the teams going forward, can they consider that left arm spinning option as a specialist position for games in Chennai?
Oh, well, I'm not a big supporter of bowling spin at the death anyway. But yeah, look, they firstly they did play Natarajan, which was a surprise, because they have got options which who can do really well at the death. Just talking about SRH, they have Natarajan and Bhuvaneshwar Kumar. So it was weird to see Manish Pandey keeping his position, but Natarajan being left out. When the last game he bowled actually pretty well. He bowled some decent Yorkers, and he is coming back after a long injury. So you got to give him some time. He was their star player last time around. But yeah, your point on the left arm spinners, I don't think actually there are many who would be able to take control of the death overs. It's mostly to do with the pitch, but even if you see Krunal Pandya in yesterday's game, so Bairstow went after him right from the start. But once a ball gets older, you can, I mean, guys like Pollard and Pandya, doesn't matter how the pitch is, if they see spinners, they I mean, you can go for plenty as well. So it's a double-edged sword for me.
Yeah, we'll take that. And about Natarajan, I think initially they said he was rested, but then after the game, they're saying there's an injury concern there, so we don't know what's going on there. We'll come to SRH later on, but for now, just like the IPL has been shifting action from Chennai to Mumbai, we shall do the same here and shift to a few of the teams that have been playing at the Wankhede in Mumbai. And starting off with Punjab Kings, who have had two very contrasting games. One in which they scored 220, and the other one they got bowled out for 106. Now, I think Punjab Kings is a curious case because this is one of the few teams that probably genuinely lacks an all-rounder option. I mean, they just have six good batters and then five good bowlers. I think they're missing that key there. But do you see that as a cause of concern? Maybe they could bring in Moises Enriquez or someone like that.
I think you touch upon a very good point. They don't have all rounders. Moreover, if you see their batting lineup, for me it feels like one dimensionally, that middle order especially. So you got Gale, Puran, and Huda, and when they do play on pitches like Chennai, so I think KL Rahul and Mayank Agarwal, if they fail to have a big partnership, it's really difficult for the middle order to rotate strike. I mean, we know how Gale plays. Puran as well, he is a tremendous striker of the ball, but not sure whether he'll be able to adjust to pitches which are sluggish, to say. So Moises Henriquez is a very good pick. Also wanted to touch upon guys like Jordan. Now Meredith has been going for runs, and Chris Jordan does that back end job really well for England as well. And gun fielder, probably one of the best going around in the world. He gives you something with the bat. So it's again, Punjab is been inconsistent throughout the years with giving chances to the players. Because the most successful teams, if you see going around back, so if you see Kolkata when they won in 2012 and 14, they back their players. Chennai and Mumbai, we know how often do they back their players, and hence everyone knows their role. But if you keep changing players every season who didn't do too badly for you, then it's going to be difficult right now. So Arshdeep Singh, as you mentioned a bit earlier, because he's given chance, so, and he has a quality. So I think they are a dangerous side. Look, I have no doubt about that. But it's got to do with the team selection. It's very important that they get it right. I like the form of KL Rahul a lot. The approach mainly more than the form. He's been scoring from the last 3 seasons more than 550 runs. But just the approach, it was weird to see how he batted last time around. But it's much better now. Batting wise, so what do you think? The batting order, Mayank Agarwal bats at the top, Gale at 3, Puran at 4, or probably they sent Huda at 4 and Puran at 5. You okay with that?
Yeah, that seems like a fair option. I was also thinking about maybe opening with Puran and but then, where do you fit in Mayank Agarwal? So that is probably a curious case with them. And Jai Richardson batting at 7, that I think that's a spot too high for him. And as you mentioned, Chris Jordan he probably is a better bet at 7 than Jai Richardson. But I want to talk also about this player that I sort of have a personal attachment with, number 6 for Punjab. He used to play back when I was younger. He used to play for a rival school, and whenever he used to come over to our school to play, there was always this buzz around that there's this player who can really smash the ball around. and he did that. He showed that on the biggest of stages in the IPL. So Shah Rukh Khan at number 6 for Punjab, do you think he's cemented his place there?
Yeah, look, it's a great point that you make about Shah Rukh Khan, and even during the auctions, many of the teams were interested in him, and the way he played uh, against Chennai.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was very heartening to see. And I was just reading an interview of his where he says that he's been used to playing in those pressure situations. We all know his hitting power hitting abilities, but it's at this tournament you're not always going to get tailor-made situations where you can just go out and start hitting the ball. But I like the way he played, and especially in a team like Punjab where they don't have a lot of experience in that lower middle order. Uh, so to close out games, he can be that Hardik Pandya who was unknown, and today Mumbai Indians depend on Hardik Pandya so much. So again, it's about giving a player so much of time, but he definitely has the caliber to play for 10 years at the highest level. Yeah, one more point about Puran. You find it okay that he plays at number 4, number 5, sometimes at number 7, at number 6, because with the ability that he has, probably move him up the order. I know Mayank Agarwal has been terrific for them in the last season, but do you think he's been underutilized?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, number 4 can be an ideal spot for him, but you want your best players to face the most balls, and he's such an explosive, a dynamic player. He can affect games of cricket, for example, like how Johnny Bairstow can do for SRH. He can play that role at the top of the order, maybe because KL Rahul, he is the captain. Somewhere at the back of his mind, he kind of feels like he has to play at that anchor role, just like he has in the previous seasons, although at a maybe a little bit quicker pace. But if he has someone like a Puran at the other end who can just go all guns blazing, it sort of makes Rahul's role easier as well, and then he can take on later on in the innings when he is set as well. So that can be a possible option for them. And but how do you fit Mayank Agarwal in then? Do you drop him or do you move him down the order? Is he good down the order? I'm not too sure. You can probably take that question.
Oh no! If he plays at the top of the order. You probably would want to give him 2-3 games more, but I really want Puran to be batting more overs. His form for West Indies and BBL as well, just ability to uh, put pressure on the bowlers it's huge, and you got to make the most out of it, especially now that they're playing in Mumbai. So he can really win matches on his own.
Yep.
And that actually eases things for Gale as well, because if we know he likes to take his time, and it can be ominous signs for the fielding captain once people like Gale and Puran are batting together and set. So few more games, but I definitely see a case for him even opening the innings. You never know with these players, because he has a strong technique. He's not just a slogger. He's a good offside player as well. So yeah.
Hopefully he can be used in a better fashion going forward. And just to round up on Punjab's bowling lineup, you have Meredith, who sort of has been bowling an Australian length and quick on those pitches, and he's been going for runs. You have Jai Richardson, who we are seeing for the first time in the IPL. So these two guys. And then if you look at the Indian talent, you have Arshdeep Singh, who I think we've spoken about him earlier as well. I think he is going to be an impact player for them going forward, and he'll be one of their keys for success if they are to go on to make it to that playoffs and even further. So, but overall, just to sum up Punjab's bowling lineup, what would you make changes if you are to make any?
Yeah, look, it's not the strongest of bowling lineups. Shami's return has been huge, but as you said, Meredith, I don't really see him playing all the games. Chris Jordan has to be back. To be honest, they don't have a lot of options. But yeah, they've got to make the best out of the resources. I think Shami and Jordan can be good at the death, and Shami is a wicket taker. They have likes of Ravi Bishnoi as well, where they can bring him back. And I think I'm not too disappointed with Murugan Ashwin. Whatever I've seen of him, he doesn't go for a lot. He normally is pretty decent, but yeah, the wicket taking options in the middle overs is what they're lacking for sure. So yeah, look, they are a very dangerous side on their day, but bowling has to be taken care of as has to be the lower middle order as well.
Yeah, looks like Punjab have things to sort out. And moving on, we are going to move on to Rajasthan Royals, who again have played at Mumbai, one against the Punjab Kings, which was one of the most entertaining games, high scoring one. And the other one against DC, which again went down to the wire, Morris finishing it off. But before everything else, I don't know why this has been a topic of discussion, but do you think it was wrong for Sanju Samson to retain strike on that second last ball and not take the single? Because it's doing the rounds in social media saying that he should have, Morris could have hit a boundary, etc., etc. What's your take on
I
it?
think he was absolutely right of not taking the single, but looks bizarre. But the way he was hitting the ball and to be needing four of the last ball with Morris on strike, you'd any day want the set batter, and he almost cleared it. It was just bad luck. That's all. But I mean, for someone who's played that kind of innings, even if he did make a mistake, you got to give him that. It was innings to remember. I can't remember the last time I liked a batter in an IPL innings that much. Probably Suresh Raina, 87 of 25 back in 2014 against Punjab, but post that I can't remember such an impactful innings.
Yeah, he's been the captain as well. He's taking on the responsibility. And before the IPL started, they had a bit of a heartbreak with Archer missing out. And then in the first game, they found out that Stokes is gone as well. Are these two players going to affect their chances in the playoff? The best, that is?
Of course it will. But I like the look of this team. I just like the way they play. The way they've been playing the two games, Miller's inclusion. I like the way Samson has been leading the side. It's not looked out of place being the captain. I like the look of their bowling. Modis is there. Munadkat has come good. Mustafizur is there. Yeah. So look.
Gaurav, just on that, how often do you see three left armers in a bowling attack? You have Sakaria, Mustafizur, Unadkat. That trio against Delhi, it really, really paid off.
It's always an advantage, isn't it? The left arm fast bowlers, and the variety is also there. So Mustafizur, you know what will you get of him? Chetan Sakaria is the fresh talent, so he brings a different kind of energy. And Chris Modis in the death overs. They also have the option of Andy Tye as well, sitting on the bench. So they have pretty good options. You see David Miller coming good. David Miller, it's high time that he makes this season his own. He just played that one game last year, 1 or 2 games, and he was run out for nothing. So despite 2 of their match winners not being present, I still like the look of this team. Manan Vohra, actually, I'm really looking forward to. He's been one of my favorite players in the IPL for some years now, but he's been so right now is that Mayank Agarwal old, where you get the pretty 20-25s, but
Hmm.
doesn't go to on to big scores. But I really think he has a caliber. Butler, I like the look of this team for sure. They have Yashasvi Jaiswal. Uh, they have options, and I'm actually backing them to go along with this team.
Yeah, and all of us like to see innovations, people trying different things. Rian Parag's underarmish ball. What do you make of that? There was the umpires were almost like telling him that if you go a little bit lower, that's probably illegal.
That ball that you're talking about, actually found it uh, really annoying to as a batsman. I
Yeah.
mean, it really disturbs your confidence and your concentration as well. Because the next ball, Chris Gill was caught at long on, and something you deposit into the stands more often than not. So some things have to be kept in check. I think players tend to go over the line. It was a bizarre ball. It was a bizarre ball. I don't know why would you do that just for the sake of doing it, or no? It's sometimes just not funny. I think he got away with it.
Yeah, he did that again in the second game as well. So let's see if he keeps at it. Um, but then overall, going forward for RR, anything different that you'd like to see?
Yeah, look, I think I really want Samson to play as deep as he can. Just take a few more balls, not think about going hard right from the top, because you have got other players. So you've got Butler and
Yeah.
Voda who can do that at the top. Miller is there, Chris
Yeah.
Morris is there. So Samson, he can, if he can bat even at strike rates of 130, 135, that really, because they need someone to bat through.
Mm.
There would be times where they would be 40 for 5, and that's when the real challenge comes, because it's not about chasing big totals or setting big totals, because even the last time they chased down 220 against Punjab and almost did that this time as well. So I would not want anything different in particular. I think they have been good with the team selection as well. Karthik Tyagi is one player I think
Mm.
should be brought back in. Sakari has been doing good, but Karthik Tyagi did really well. He got selected for the national team as well, or he was bowling in the nets. In fact, so has the height
Yeah.
and has the right attitude as well. So some minor changes here and there, but overall they've been good.
Yeah, and I think we also have to talk about the most expensive IPL buy in Chris Morris. He was specifically picked to do the death overs role. He did that pretty well for RCB. So far, though, have you seen enough from him to justify that pick?
Well, for the money that he went for it, I don't think even how much ever he does it, it'll
Yeah.
seem like enough. But look, I think they've been playing in Mumbai, and bowling in death overs is never easy
Mm.
there. Very few have managed to crack that code. I think probably Bumrah is the only one who managed to do that. But I think he's is is much more concise. Initially, Morris could have been all over the place. I wouldn't judge him based on these two games, but I like the way he's taking the responsibility. The batting, we saw he won a match for them, so that would give him even more confidence for bowling.
Mm.
And yeah, I think it makes a good pair, him and Mustafizur at the death.
Yeah, and I think now we're going to move from one young Indian wicketkeeper captain to another in the form of Rishabh Pant for Delhi Capitals. Again, they've played one against CSK, which they absolutely just ran away with the game, and the second one against RR, which was very, very close, but RR Morris just took it over the line for them. First of all, what do you make of Rishabh Pant, the captain, versus the animated guy that we've seen him in the recent series?
And I just like the guy. He's good in any manner that he plays. But I think he's not been overawed by the leadership. It just seems like the guy who wants to be in that position to take control of things. And I just so before the tournament started, when we knew that he's going to be the captain, I was actually worried that it doesn't take away anything from his batting, because he is probably the hottest topic in world cricket right now, about his batting. And the last 6 months, I mean, it is Rishabh Pant's world, the last 6 months. And the way he played the second game, especially when they were continuously losing wicket, he got run out, but uh, uh, just seems fearless. And yeah, look, I like this decision by them. If it can really work for them. Other than that, I wanted to ask this. I mean, before the tournament started, they looked like a very strong team, apart from Mumbai on papers. But for me, they haven't shown that on the field. Somehow, they've not got the team right, the 11 right. Feels that to me. Do you think it's that way, or you find it's just about not playing well?
I was going to bring this up with you. I'm not sure of Rahane at three. I mean, for the longest time, he hasn't performed. We always talk about, oh, if they're in a situation where they're losing wickets, then Rahane is going to come good. But as you saw in the last game, even then, he did not come good. And if you look at their first game, they went for Hetmeyer. And in the second one, they went one batsman short. And that probably cost them a few runs in the death. So I was thinking about the options that they could come up with. Do you play Smith? But for whom? Billings, maybe, is another option. Or do you find an Indian batsman to fill that role? Because I personally uh, probably find there are more effective options than Rahane at three in this particular lineup, because Stoinis was the one that was doing the top of the order role towards the back end of the last season, and now he's moved back down. So I don't know whether he's going to be able to really uh, get going from ball one, at which you would have to do at that sort of position that he's playing at. What's your take on their situation?
Yeah, look, I think they have not got the 11 right in both the games for sure. I do believe that Rahan is not the right man at number three. Smith inclusion is a must for me.
Mhm.
Uh, I, I mean, it's Steve Smith we are talking about. He's and with the pitches that we are looking at, even in the Mumbai games, the pitches have been green, and in Chennai it has been really sluggish.
Yeah.
And the one guy you want to be batting there is Steve Smith. It just brings a different energy on the field. Gives I think people are calm as well, because there's a captain who's very young. He would need support. And yeah, I think, and instead of whom, I think my four overseas player would be Rabada, Nokia, uh, Chris Wokes, and Steve Smith. Sorry, Stoinis and Steve Smith. Uh, at least for the start of the season, Chris Wokes I know has been doing really well, but I personally am not sure about his big hitting abilities. Because when you have Nokia and Rabada, your fast bowling quota is pretty much uh, stacked up, and you don't really require Chris Wokes then, because he is effective in the initial overs. But then Nokia and Rabada do take care of that. Avesh Khan has been doing really well
Yeah,
as
yeah.
well.
He's another one. Yeah.
So I think Smith has to be there. Hetmeyer again, I'm not sure, because he's been there for 2 years and I can't remember performance where he won a match of his own. So how long do you back a player, trust a player who has the talent, no doubt, but you can't keep probably one of the best batters in the world out for too long. They got him for a steal.
Yep.
Uh, 2.2 crores, and I think that was the buy of the season, and not making use of it was disappointing to see, especially from someone like Ricky Ponting.
Yeah, and just thinking about their batting order, you have Lalit Yadav coming in at number 7, at least in the last game, and he did decently well. But now that Akshar Patel is out of, he's again available for selection, does him coming into the team make it look like a much more settled lineup, especially now that they're going to be going to Chennai as well, play a few games? He provides that left arm spinning option. So I think Akshar Patel probably is like that band-aid that just smooths over all the rough edges in this particular lineup.
100%, Akshar, and they had 7 bowling options in the last game. I don't know why they did
Yeah.
that, and they compromised on the batting, which was their USP the last season, because they batted really deep. But I don't think in how many games they would use those 7 options. They won't. But it's just to make sure that you have enough bowling options, and that doesn't work. Akshar Patel and Ashwin are the right spin bowling combination for them. If you just look at this with Ashwin, Akshar, Rabada, Nortje, Stoinis, and Avesh Khan, it looks a formidable
Yeah.
bowling lineup. Then you don't really need Lalit Yadav. Obviously, you'd make changes depending on the conditions, but it gives you batting options. Akshar, Ashwin, Stoinis, Smith, and Rishabh Pant, Shikhar Dhawan, and Prithvi Shaw looks like a formidable batting lineup then. But yeah, till now they haven't got the 11 right.
Yeah, and Shaw had a terrible last season, but he's had a good domestic run in the Vijay Hazare Trophy as well, averaging 165 if I'm not wrong, and he's looked pretty good in that game against CSK. Got out early against Rajasthan, but he looks like he's gonna have a great season, doesn't he?
Yeah, I think you understated that fact about him having a good Ranji season, or
Yeah.
rather the domestic season. I was indeed following those games, and some of the games he was treating the bowlers as school kids. He was literally toying with the bowling. That's what he can do. He is a really dangerous batsman, and it's not just that he does that for the initial 6 overs. He has the ability to find gaps even after that, once the field is spread out. I really want him to come good, because when he came into the scene, he was talked about as much as any other player I can remember. Probably Rohit Sharma was the last one when someone was talked about a lot before the inclusion in the Indian team, and Prithvi Shaw was the other guy. He has made some technical changes as well. If you noticed, so now the movement is back and across. The front foot was stuck, and probably the hands were stuck as well, and he couldn't complete the shots. That was the problem in Australia, but the movement is much better now. He's been very vocal about it as well, that he's been working on his technical aspect. And not just for Delhi, I think if he comes good, he's very young and can be a real asset for India going forward.
Yeah, for sure. And we'll move on to yet another Indian wicketkeeper captain. Not so young this time, and he's probably towards the end of his career. The Tala, as they call him here in south of India, the captain of the Chennai Super Kings, MS Dhoni's team. At the start of the tournament, they seemed like it's going to be a repeat of the last season. As far as at least my opinion, I felt like they should have made more changes to their lineup. But the first game, it did not go according to plan, but they really did well against the Punjab Kings. First of all, want an overall opinion on their squad and their lineup.
Yeah, look, on paper they do seem like the weakest team to me, for sure, because there are too many uh, players who play multiple roles but can't fit in the same team. For example, I don't see Karan and Bravo in the same 11. Bravo now for the longest time hasn't been batting. They don't show enough confidence in his batting, and he's not the same bowler he was as well. So, uh, and them too many left-handers as well in the middle order. You can see Raina and Moeen Ali and Ravindra Jadeja and Sam Curran. Uh, so they've got to spread it out. Plus the opening pair as well. I don't like that combination. I want someone who to be attacking at the top. Ruturaj Gaikwad, he takes his time, and so does Faf du Plessis. So you got to either promote Moeen Ali or Sam Curran, one of those two for sure. Raidu did a great job for them, but if they can have a right left hand combination at the start, that would spread it out as well. Plus Raidu plays spin pretty well, and they can use him at the middle overs, but there are just too many players who you're not utilizing, and instead of that, you are compromising on players like Imran Tahir, who can be real wicket takers, because I don't really see wicket taking options in there. Sure, with Deepak Chahar did take those 4 wickets, but that was a very friendly wicket. Where you're gonna get wickets which don't provide assistance for the bowlers, and they don't have genuine pace as well. You see Deepak Chahar and Shardul Thakur, Sam Curran, Dwayne Bravo. There's no real pace in there. They were very unlucky to lose Josh Hazelwood, but they have Lungi Engedi, Berendorf. They have drafted in their squad, so they have options. But yeah, I mean, they've got to settle that batting lineup. You mentioned about Dhoni. As big a fan as I am of him, but he's got to do something about his batting, because it's not easy coming back playing after such long time. He doesn't play domestic cricket or any competitive cricket, and it's literally blocking a position, because 2019 he scored 2020 sorry in fact he scored just a 200 runs, and doesn't seem to win place this time around as well. They've got problems for sure.
And Gaurav, we've spoken about role definitions. To me, Ambati Raidu's role at 5, is there a specified role that you see it? Because I feel like he needs to bat in the top 4, and he has been most effective in the top 4. What do you do with a player like Ambati Raidu at 5?
So definitely he has to be in fact, the 2018 season where he was the highest run scorer for them, he batted at the opening slot. And see, Raidu is an interesting case, because he's never gotten a specific role apart from when he was in Mumbai Indians for those 4-5 years, and he did really well. So yeah, why would you change? In fact, now that even Watson isn't there, so why won't you make use of him? Either you bat him at the top of the order or at number 4. That's the max. You can. People do talk about Dhoni being promoted at number 4, but I'm not sure about that too, because I really see his hitting powers going down, even if he's set. People have found out that hard lengths are the way to go against Dhoni, but Raidu is innovative as well. He can play those cheeky shots, and is effective in the middle overs as well. You got to give him more and more deliveries to play. Yeah, it's I'm as much as it is talked about, but it is not just Dhoni's team. It's been, I think, too hyped up, and they have got to look beyond him and think about the future as well.
Yeah, and one possible option could be whom they refer to as the Chinnathala and Suresh Raina. I feel like Moeen Ali and Raina, they seem like the positives from CSK's batting lineup at 3 and 4. So you spoke about maybe promoting Moeen Ali to the top of the order. Do you think he's good at 3 and 3 with Raina coming in at 4, and probably moving Raidu to the top, opening with Faf and making Ruturaj sit out for a while?
I want Rana at three for sure. Ruturaj Gaikwad because he did really well at the
Back
second
end.
half of the
Yeah.
season for them, yeah, last time. So they it's just two games and they want to give him a longer run. I don't see a case for Faf du Plessis here. He might come good later, but uh, I would want Moeen Ali at the top because Sam Curran, we have seen he can go from the start in that game against Delhi.
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
Yes.
he did
Yes.
really well. So Moeen Ali, he can really make use of those power plays, and also he should be used more in while he's bowling as well. So Moeen Ali, they've got that selection right. Just need to ensure that he has more deliveries to play. So for me, it would be Moeen Ali and Ruturaj, then Raina, and then Raidu, and the rest follows. Yeah.
Yeah, and just talking a little bit about their bowling, I've been kind of disappointed in Thakur's performances so far. He was really good in the England series. It seemed like he had leveled up, but now again, it seems like he's gone back to what he was maybe in the 2018-2019 season. And also, they seem to lack an enforcer, like how KKR has been using Pat Cummins in the middle overs. Uh, what do you do to this bowling attack? Do you bring in a Mitch Santner, Lungi and Giri, as you said, as two possible replacements for Faf and Dwayne Bravo?
Yeah, that's the exact point that I said. They don't have a genuine quick bowler who can bowl at 140 plus. And Shardul Thakur, as you mentioned, I have never been fan of bowlers who just stick to one line of bowling, pitching at one particular length, slowing it up. If you do that throughout, you're gonna be found out. It worked during the England series, but you got to have the ability to pitch it up as well. Uh, because on good surfaces, on surfaces like Mumbai, where they're playing, good batters would take advantage of that, and they don't have anyone to bowl at the depth.
Mm.
Bravo, he was one of the best in his times, but now age would catch up for sure. And so yeah, Lungi Engedi and Imran Tahir for me would be the two replacements. It gives them wicket taking options. Imran Tahir, surprisingly, post 2019, his numbers are terrific in T20 cricket. He's getting older, but just seems like taking wickets all the time.
Yep. And from the conversation that we've had till now, I think CSK is the team that really has to make the most number of changes, not only from outside the team, but also within their lineup with regards to
Right.
positions and everything. And I'm personally pegging them at the bottom two spots of the table. But how do you see their chances in this tournament?
Uh, he, yeah, look, uh, even I don't see them in the top four.
Yeah.
Uh, but they the thing that would be going for them is they know how to win trophies. They won three, and guys like Jadeja, Raina, and Dhoni as well. They know how to manage the difficult situations, and especially with Raina's form, he is the real glue of the team. I like his the way he played the first game, and that trio of Moeen Ali, Raina, and Jadeja are going to be really, really important. If they can fire, I still think they stand a chance if they make the right calls. Bring Imran Tahir back, Lungi Engedi back, take some tough calls. That oldest theory of not making too many changes, it's not working for them. It just is not working for them.
Yeah, it's tough times for CSK, and tough times at least so far has been for SRH, who are at the bottom of the table. They've played 3 games so far, lost all three, and they've been playing in Chennai. Um, Before we get into this team, um, Manish Pandey has been criticized a lot. His role in the first game where people said that he did not take the impetus to enforce the innings. It was Abdul Samad who came in and started smashing those sixes, and then towards the end, Manish Pandey really took charge. And in the second game, in a chase, in when you know that it's going to get difficult as the game progresses, he consumed a lot of deliveries, 39 to be precise, to hit 38 runs at under a runner ball in Chennai in the first 10 overs um, is a cause of concern, you think?
Yeah, and now he's played a lot of cricket for the SRH, so he should be, and they've given him that number 3 or number 4 slot for a very long time. He can't complain that he's been getting opportunities. It is a cause of concern, and the thing about Manish Pandey is the way he plays the genuine kicks. I have a problem with that. He moves around too much, and that somehow cramps him for room. He and that works for him for spinners because he can use his feet and get away with it. But with fast bowlers, I remember that game against KKR, Pat Cummins was really tucking him up with those short of length deliveries. So it's been almost 5-6 years that Manish Pandey has been talked about and hasn't really proved his worth and what people talk of him. And yeah, look, he has to get that strike rate up. No, you can't blame the pitch because there are players who are doing for other teams. We're talking about Surya Kumar Yadav and others as well. So, and that is the reason he's lagging behind in that contenders list for Indian squad. He was a regular at one point in time, but if you're not going to improve your game, then it is not going to work for you. And yeah, I think they would be giving him more chances still because they don't have a lot of options, especially in the Indian batting, sitting on the bench. Kedar Jadhav is one, but Manish Pandey, he's hanging in between.
Yeah, and I think all of them are just waiting for Williamson to get back in the squad at number 4. But then with Manish Pandey's role and Williamson sort of playing that similar anchor role, the question comes up is both of them at 3 and 4 an ideal combination, or how would you play this situation out if you were to bring Williamson in, and for whom would you bring him in?
My 4 overseas players would be Bairstow, Warner, Williamson, and Rashid Khan. Now, you spoke about number 3 and 4. So for me, I would give someone like Abdul Samad and Kedar Jadhav more chances. So you can play Williamson at 3 for me, and Kedar Jadhav at 4, Pandey at 5, Abdul Samad at 6. Abdul Samad, you can push him up the order. And then you have 2 guys who can score at more than 150, guys like Kedar Jadhav and Abdul Samad. Then it looks a much better bowling lineup. You have a few overs of Kedar Jadhav as well, than the 5 bowlers. So they don't have a lot of options going forward. Jason Holder is a good option, but I think it just is not the right balance for the team because Williamson is required the middle order batting. I mean, yesterday they had Virat Singh, 3 play Abhishek Sharma, and there was one more. You can't depend on that middle order. You really can't.
Yeah, and just speaking on that, I think Sanjay Manjrekar put out a tweet last night saying that, sorry to say, but if you have players like Virat Singh, Abhishek Sharma, and Abdul Samad all in 111, how do you expect to win? First of all, what do you make of that tweet? Could it have been worded better? And yeah, I mean, there's also Priyam Garg sitting on the sidelines. Is he an option for them as well?
Yeah, about that tweet. So bits and pieces were right, but it was not formed the way it should have been. But yeah, my opinions are pretty much same. You, I mean, when you have some, if if you wouldn't wanted him to play, then Kedar Jadhav. There's no other role of Kedar Jadhav. There's no point making him sit on the bench. He did have a good Vijay Hazare Trophy, so he's been coming on the back of some good form, and he has got international experience as well. Played for India in a World Cup. So, I mean, yeah, look, he has to be there. He has to be there.
And just speaking about Warner's captaincy a little bit, they played the first game in Chennai. They chose to bowl first, and it was that was the only high-scoring encounter in Chennai against KKR. But then after that, again, after just one night before seeing what happened to Mumbai and KKR, they again chose to bowl first in that second game for SRH. And do you think they've got the tactics a little bit wrong, and also making so many changes for the third game? They've made 4 or 5 changes for the third game. What do you make of this situation?
Yeah, you're right. It's weird because with SRH, you always have that thinking that they make the best use of their players. They've never been the team who were filled with star players, but they most often than not finish in that top 4. And for some reason, I find David Warner not being at the best of his game, even while batting and while captaincy as well. He's looked out of sorts. He's coming back on the back of an injury. That might have played a role. But I think Williamson, once he comes back in, he's just a great asset to have. And this team requires him the most. His calmness on the field, batting as well. The pitches like Delhi and Chennai, Williamson would be of some value.
Yeah, and I in fact saw a graph this morning which said that SRH were most expensive in the first 6 overs, and in the back end, the only phase that they were relatively good at was in the middle phases, and that's when Rashid Khan comes onto bowl. Just what do you make of SRH's bowling lineup? Because this is a team that usually defends well when they are batting first, and they have had good seasons with the same set of bowlers.
But yeah, if you're going to keep someone like Natarajan out, then what do you do? Why? I mean, they've got people like Trevor Bayliss and Tom Moody and VVS Lakshman in that dugout, and you keep Natarajan, who has done brilliantly well in Australian conditions against some of the best batters in the world. You got to understand he's been coming back from an injury. Got to give him chances. Otherwise, how would you make a team confident if you're not going to back your players? Khalil Ahmed, we've seen enough of him, and he's not that great at the death. It's as simple as that. You have got to realize where you have to improve. It's the death overs and the middle overs, the pressure situations. If you remember, Natarajan, even after going for so many runs, he bowled that crucial last over against Sam Curran in that final ODI, and still nailed those Yorkers.
Yeah.
Whether Khalil Ahmed would do that, I don't think so. When you have players, you're not making use of it. It's just hard to digest. They have Shahbaz Nadeem as well. So Shahbaz Nadeem and Rashid Khan can make a good spin bowling combination. Just got to back the players.
That's a point very well made, Gaurav. And we have only one more team to look at for our first episode. And this is a team that middle of last year, they had a change of captains. Now you have a World Cup winning captain along with Brendan McCullum, one of his really close friends, at the helm. They just look like a more settled lineup this time around. They've as a settled unit per se.
Definitely, they have a very strong 11, I'm not sure about the backups, but and it has been the case for them for 2-3 years. You look at that lineup and it's filled with six hitters, boundary hitters, and mm, yeah, I think their bowling combinations as well. I like that bowling. I like that bowling lineup with Pat Cummins and Prashid Krishna, uh, Varun Chakravarti. Andre Russell has come good.
Yeah.
The worrying part has been Morgus form. I think he's coming in bit too late. Doesn't matter what, if he has to bat at number three, so be it. He should be batting at number three. Just take some time, because it's hard to accept someone who's been one of the best white ball batters, not just a captain in the previous few years, and not showing that in IPL for some
Mm.
reason. Because he's one player who can go right from the start, but obviously the conditions are different, so might as well bat at number three. Take more time, because you have Russell, you have Karthik, you have Pat Cummins as well, who can go hard at the death.
Yeah, and just speaking about the top order, Nitish Rana, at least last season, was a kind of player who would get a good innings, and then the next following innings, he would get out pretty quickly. But this time around, at least for the first two games, he's done pretty well. Is it him finally coming of age for Rana?
Yeah, definitely. We saw the first glimpses of him when he was playing for Mumbai a couple of years back, and he did really well for them. And again, he was really good in the first half, and then tapered off in the second half. But when you look at him playing, left-hander, very pretty to the eyes. He plays shots all over the ground. So uh, I'm glad that they're backing him. They're not, as you mentioned, he had on and off starts the last season. Whether he scored 80s and zeros was
Yeah.
his sequence, but they didn't keep him out. And I think Shubman Gill is the right opening partner for him
Mm.
as well, because he gives you that assurance. He's very technically solid, and yeah, I think Nitish Rana would be the breakthrough start this season for me.
KKR are traditionally a team that usually plays a lot of spinners, and they're one of the few teams in this tournament to have three proper spinners who can give you 4 overs each. And Chakravarti, Harbhajan, Shakib. Um, is this the right combination for a Chennai type of wicket?
Yeah, it is the right combination, because Harbhajan, in Chennai wicket, he has played for Chennai
Yeah.
for a couple of years, and he did really well there. Shakib is a bank, uh, and Varun Chakravarti, he has done decently well this season. Last season, he was the star for them. They have got Kuldeep in there, but Kuldeep, I don't see him getting opportunities at the beginning, because it's not just about getting wickets, but he's not been bowling well as well. The problem of bowling too slow is still there. I think the bowling combination, they've got it absolutely right. And they have few young fast bowlers as well, Mavi and Nagakoti, who would get a chance at some point in time when they want to rest Pat Cummins and bring in some other foreign players. So look, they are a very very strong team. I see them as one of those number four contenders. But Morgan's form is the biggest worry for them.
Yeah, and KKR have a lot of firepower in the middle overs. In the first game, they were not required. In the second game, they did not come good. Is it the case like for Mumbai, where you have a lot of big names, but they also need to deliver? And also, one more point on Shakib being at 7. Is that the right role for him to play?
Yeah, look, for me, Shakib is a floater. Shakib, you can't pinpoint a particular position for him. So when you are losing wickets, he would probably bat at number four. But but I won't give him that position throughout all the games. And about the big hitters, look, Russell or Karthik, they've not been playing regular cricket. Russell fitness is always a concern, and I do believe once they move on to quicker pitches, the things would be much different. And yeah, when you talk some for a team like Mumbai, I think Pollard is a much more sensible batsman in that regard. We saw how he managed to wait till the last over and eventually get them to a decent total. But with Russell, just feels like it's either hit or a miss. There is no rotation of strike. And but when you have someone like him, you will play him more often than not. Yeah.
He picked up 5 wickets as well in that second game in a couple of overs, which was good to see. But I think one stark difference from the last season to this season has been how they've used Cummins. Usually you see him at the top, and then towards the back end he goes for runs. But this time around they've been going for bowlers like Harbhajan and also Chakravarti for an over in the power play. And then Cummins takes over that middle session, and in the back end you have a bowler like Russell who's he's been pretty good at nailing what he wants to do. It might not be the right plan to always go on that wide Yorker line and make your plan so obvious, but he's been nailing that. And that's been the biggest difference for me this in this bowling attack. Is this just better utilization of their resources, something that probably SRH were really good at doing?
Yeah. I think Pat Cummins, he didn't. So the last season, there was just too much talks about the price tag, and I think that played a part on him. You mentioned about the usage. I think he would still be very effective if used in the first 6 overs as well. He is a wicket taker. They do have the option of someone like a Shakib or Varun Chakravarti who can bowl in the power play. So they can use Cummins in the middle overs, but I still think when the big games come, he has to take control of the initial overs. When you play someone like a team like Mumbai and want to take wickets right up front, so Cummins is the guy for me. Ferguson is waiting. We remember how he did the last time around. And one more player is Karun Nair. I think he's not much talked about, but I think going forward they should really look at him. Tripathi has done well in the 2-3 games that he has played in, but Karun Nair can be a really good player for them. In the top order, he wouldn't be as effective at number 5 or 6, but if you give him a chance at the top of the order, he can be really effective in that.
He can probably take that number 3 slot, and he's no muck with the bat. He's hit a 100 against England. But after that, so KKR seemed like a team to reckon with. And on that note, we've seen them play, all the teams play a couple of games now. What's your top 4 prediction for this season?
I'm definite about 3. I think Mumbai, KKR, and Delhi. Mumbai and KKR would be the top 2 teams for me, and the number 4 is I'm a bit confused between RR and Punjab.
Okay.
These. So
I just want to remind you about a tagline that's very famous. Isala Cup Namde are they a contender?
I would get a lot of hate for this. I mean, Bangalore fans, but I want to see how they go in the 2 weeks that's coming up. I see the problem with their bowling. That's the reason. I see that at number, like, just missing out on that top 4, but they're not that far. They're not that far. I only see CSK and SRH not being in the competition. But you never know. I mean, big players like Warner and Dhoni and Raina, you can never count them out. But three, I'm pretty sure of. What would be yours?
Yeah, I think it's pretty much the same three that you're sure of: Mumbai, Delhi, KKR. And I think for my fourth spot, I'm going to go give the edge to RR. But yeah, RCB is one of those contenders. But I think RR takes that fourth spot for me as of now.
Yeah, I mean, RR, despite Archer and Stokes not being there, it's interesting that we both came up with RR's name.
And Archer started bowling as well. He might be available to play in the later half, and if he is added to that lineup, it becomes a solid lineup.
It definitely does, but I'm not sure whether he would take a chance with that. With the T20 World Cup coming up, he would want to be fully recovered. I like the fact about English and Australian players that they put prioritize the international games over IPL, and I think. But if he does come back in, then the chances gets even higher.
Yep. And that's sort of wraps up our week 1 review of the IPL. If you've liked hearing this, if you want to suggest any changes to the format, please feel free to do so. Thank you for your time. I think it's been a great episode, great comeback for us as well into this season's IPL. Thanks a lot for watching. Any parting words, Gaurav?
I mean, we have been lost for some time now, and it's been really exciting to get back at this. We've been following all the cricket that's been going around, but just to bring a different perspective, as you mentioned, there were so many podcasts that were doing the rounds of IPL, and we wanted to bring something different to the table, but we are going to be very consistent from now on, and be following and covering all the IPL games and everything that's coming forward for us.
Yeah, thanks a lot. Really enjoyed the discussion. I hope you guys did as well. Be sure to tune into the next episode this Saturday. Thanks a lot for watching. Goodbye.
Thanks.